Hello, welcome to our community because turning pain into power is sexy. So, I want to talk about the false premise behind losing our virginities. Now, let's get into how I knew I was mentally and physically ready to be entered into and how I made the conscious decision on my own to be entered into. How I knew that I was ready is because my pussy, my vagina, literally flowered. It literally opened. It was ready to receive entry. When I have gotten to speak to young girls who have decided to be entered into, a lot of what they believe, okay, a lot of what they have been taught by other peers, not educators like myself, but what they've been taught by other peers is that it's supposed to hurt, that you are supposed to bleed. That is the biggest crock of crap I've ever heard in my life. And it is sad that this is the belief that's traveling throughout adolescents' minds, throughout schools. The boys, young men, they believe the same thing. Okay. What I tell young women and girls who have or have not been there yet, or whatever the case, what I tell them is if you bleed and if it hurts, then you were not ready. You were coerced. You were not ready. You thought you were in love. You were not ready. You were convinced you were not ready, but you jumped the gun because maybe he told you were pretty and that he loved you, right? If you are bleeding and if it is painful, that is not normal. Now, I'm not saying that that isn't the case, but those cases are very few and far in between. The it is not the majority. It is not the norm of the majority that you feel pain and that you bleed. That is very, very, very few and far in between. And those are rare cases, okay? Depending on how the male is built, depending on how your body is built, all right? Very rare cases, right? But we're not talking about those rare cases. In those rare cases, you can go speak to a physician or a doctor to get more precise information about that. But if you think that it is the majority, the norm within the majority for it to be hurt, for it to be painful, and for you to bleed, you are sadly mistaken. Those cases are happening because you did not flower for entry, meaning your body, your vagina did not open up for entry. It was not ready. And so what happens is it was forced penetration. At this point, it's infiltration, okay? Meaning you're forcing your way through a doorway that didn't open itself up. Meaning someone has forced their way to enter into a doorway that wasn't opened up for them to enter. And so, because you believe that it's supposed to hurt and you're supposed to bleed, you sit there and you allow forced entry. Now, I'm sharing this because I want young women to know that your body, that a connection, it's very important for you to have an intrinsic connection to your body so that you know what your body is saying when it's trying to communicate to you. So you'll know when you truly are ready. And you'll know you truly are ready. And it won't just be a mental thought. It'll be a physical knowing. It'll be an energetic knowing. It'll be a spiritual knowing when you are truly, truly ready. You won't need to be convinced. Okay? You will not need to be convinced. So it's important to have this mind, body, soul connection. And it's important that you make this connection to your body long before anybody else has the opportunity to have access to you. Because when you make this connection to your body, when you know your body, right? Meaning you know the voice of your body. You and your body have a language that only you and it can understand. Okay? You have a connection. You understand what it's saying to you. And when you have this connection, and the only way you can have this connection, the only way that you can have this connection is if you do the inner work to connect to your body. The way you do this inner work is by sacred self-touch. Okay? There's some of us in the conscious community, some of us in the sexuality education field who call this sensate focus touch, where you touch parts of your body and you focus on the sensations you get when you touch a certain part. And it doesn't have to just be your vagina that you touch or your breast that you touch. You can completely avoid the erogenous zones of your body. But let me tell you something. The inner elbow can be an erogenous zone, right? Shoot, the tip of your ear could be an erogenous zone, right? So the way to know your body and have this connection to your body is by working with your body. Literally working with your body. Have conversations with your body. There are certain practices that I've incorporated in my life, practices that I've made up on my own as I was on my dark night of the soul journey, where I would hold myself and I would rock myself because I was doing my inner child work. I was doing the inner healing work and doing some of the work that was coming up from when I was molested as a child. Was molested at the age of 4 by a female babysitter. And so some of the inner child work that I was doing was from that. It stemmed from me not having my biological father in my life growing up, but I really had a great example of male figures in my life. So, but I didn't have my biological father. So I was doing a lot of that inner child work, healing those parts, even though my mother was completely in my life and we are best friends, my mother and I still had to do some remothering on myself because there were parts that my mother couldn't mother because there were things she just didn't know as a mother and things she needed to heal within her own self. And so there would be these practices that I would go into where I would literally hold myself and rock myself with tears rolling down my face, getting to know this being that I didn't know, this body that was called my body. I didn't know it, but I had been in connections with people who knew my body when I didn't know my body, right? I was in relationships with people who knew my body, but I didn't know my body, okay? Who had access to my body, but I didn't have access to. I had access to my body, but I had never cultivated the connection. I had never, I never gotten to know this that belonged to me, but I allowed other people access to it to get to know it before I ever did. And so the way to cultivate this relationship with your body before anybody else has access to do that is doing this inner child work. It's having these sacred sessions with yourself where you are massaging yourself, where you are touching yourself, where you are finding out what arouses you and what does not, what feels right and what doesn't. I remember for the longest time, I was very uncomfortable with my breast being touched when I was in a relationship, but I never told the people I was in relationships. I mean, I was in a 5-year relationship when we were engaged for 2 years, but I never told him how uncomfortable I was when he touched my breast or when anybody touched my breast. I never liked the sensation that I felt from when men touched my breast. And this came from when I was inappropriately touched and being molested by this female babysitter, right? I didn't have breasts at 4 years old, but this woman who was much older than me touched me in ways that were very, very uncomfortable. And so I found that my nipples are not an erogenous zone for me like it is for most people. Like it is, I don't say for most people, like it may be for most women. Even some men, their nipples are an erogenous zone, but it is not for me. I'm very, very uncomfortable with that. But I learned that from being in relationships, but I thought there was something wrong with me. I thought I'm supposed to be aroused by my breasts. I'm supposed to be, but that's just not an erogenous zone for me. And that just didn't come from the sexual trauma that I experienced. Um, but it's something that just doesn't work for my body at all. And I learned that again in relationships. And then when I started to do this sensate focused touch, I realized that even for myself, um, that was not an area that felt arousing to me. As a matter of fact, it feels more violating than arousing. Maybe because that's the suckle life. I don't know. Maybe there's a part of me that's like, that doesn't belong to that person. That belongs to a human baby if you ever have one, which I plan to never do. Okay. All right, let's get back on track. Um, so yeah, having this mind, body, soul connection, having this connection to your body, the only way that you're gonna know what is safe is if you connect with yourself first before anybody has the chance to do that, right? You will know, and your body will tell you when it is ready. You will have such a sacred connection and relationship to your body that nobody will be able to infiltrate that. And you won't be losing anything when you do decide to allow your doorways to be entered. It will be a conscious decision that you will be happy you made all the days of your life. To this day, I do not regret the decision I made and the person I chose to enter my doorways. To this day, I am 38 years old, and I can tell you to this day, I made the best decision and I chose the best person at that time to enter my doorways. To this day. It was the most pleasurable and honorable experience. And we had a very, very long relationship with each other. I was in high school, he was in college. When he went to my prom with me, you know. He wrote a song about me, right? He drew pictures of me. His family loved me. You know, so I chose a very mature, eccentric man to enter through my doorways. Not only did I choose him mentally, but my body chose as well. And it was a very, very pleasant experience for me. So I just wanted to share that. Getting to know our bodies, having these sacred connections. The only way you can have a sacred connection is if you access you first before anybody else has a chance to. So anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this. I'll see you in the next cast. If you're subscribed here, thank you for subscribing here. This is Alchemindity, because turning pain into power is sexy. And if you have not, what the hell are you waiting for? Go ahead and click that subscribe button right now. To those of you who have bought copies of Activate, Unorthodox Philosophies that explore anxiety, depression, and suicidal thoughts as symptoms of suppressed superpower, let me know what you think about it. The Activate Book Club is now available on Patreon. You can find out about that and all the other information in the description box below. So click the link tree and it will guide you to everywhere that I am. Now listen, once you click the link tree, again, it'll tell you everywhere that I am. If it is not listed on my link tree, social media, websites, all that kind of stuff, it's not me. If it's not on my link tree, it is not me. So please do not be scammed. And if you have any questions about if somewhere is me or not, email me, Timmésha Burgess at gmail.com. But again, everywhere that I am is listed on my link tree, okay? See what else? Get you some merch. Fear of Feminine Power is a mental disorder. Also, pussy power. I am redefining the meaning of pussy power. Listen, this goes a lot deeper than trying to put it on Tyrone. It has nothing to do with putting it on Tyrone and everything to do with awakening and activating your inner divine being for more reasons and in more ways than just one. I'll see y'all next time. Ciao for now.